Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bell to Bells YouTube channel, or on YouTube.com, or not YouTube, but belltobells.com, your women's wrestling wire. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. Welcome back once again for another fantastic interview that we have lined up for you today. And I do mean fantastic. I have someone who's spoken with us in the past, but we're taking the opportunity to chat with her once again. A wrestler from the indie circuit out of DC that is on the cusp of greatness. This is a bold prediction from your boy Warren here, but I truly do believe that. She is one half of the Kings of the District Tag Team with Elo O'Neill. First time ever primetime pro tag team champions, the ankle breaker herself, Jordan Blade. Jordan, thank you very much for joining me today.
What's up? I'm impressed that you were able to get all that in a second time.
Yeah, we had slight difficulties. This
messed up the screen.
Yeah, this is take two indeed. But yeah, no, there you go. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're very, very busy. So I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to come and chat with us again. It's cool.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I took a couple days off work. Yesterday was my birthday. So put that out there.
Today? Like
yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. So we're recording this on November 20th. So on the 19th, happy belated birthday then from all of us. And I'll probably do that too. Take some time off on your birthday. Why wouldn't you do that? That's a good idea.
Yeah, and the past few years I didn't, and for this year I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take a long weekend, and then we have Thanksgiving next week, so I'm just working 2 days next week.
Sweet. Is that how the 1% lives?
Okay, yeah. When I get to that 1%, because I feel like I'm bottom 99 now, right now.
That was obviously just a joke, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and I'm glad you're taking some time off. Overall, the interviews I've been doing recently, I find that this is, one of the best, but also most unfortunate icebreakers, that you can use as a first question. Talking about COVID, right? I mean, it's all something that we've been through. COVID turned 2020 into like a quest for work for indie wrestlers, right? How have you fared this year? How has 2020 been for you specifically?
I mean, so wrestling wise, and this has happened to everyone, so it's definitely not specific to me, but obviously my Mania week was going to be not packed, but definitely more eventful than last year. Last year, I made the trek up to New York, New Jersey, and I was just hoping to maybe get a spot on a show, looking to help out on, behind the scenes if they needed it. But this year I was booked on 4 shows. And COVID took all that away, and now it's just, once shows kind of started ramping back up, maybe late summer-ish, I only had maybe like one show, and that was with Fight Club, that you guys saw on IWTV, Fight Club Summer Jam, Shameless Blood. That was about it. Then Synergy Wrestling, reached out. I'm sure we'll get to that, but Synergy reached out and asked if I would be a part of their women's GSI coming up on December 12th, and I was like, absolutely.
Absolutely. You're not going to pass that up for sure. And yes, we will be talking about the GSI in a little bit. And it must have been a little hard because you were injured for a good chunk of 2019 as well. Let's be frank, the timing of all this sucks.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. So, I broke my ankle in December 2018, had surgery the following month in January of 2019, and I just made, my return to the ring kind of late summer, early fall of 2019, and I felt like I was just starting, to get on, a roll.
Sure.
And albeit I thought I was going to be on a roll when I broke my ankle too. I was wrestling Faye Jackson, and at that point, that was the biggest match that I had ever had, was wrestling Faye Jackson, and I thought, this is going to be the match that's going to kind of define the turning point in my career, which it did in a different way. um, but yeah, so I came back from that and, teamed up with Eel, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we were kind of, on a roll and just wrestling all these great teams, Pretty Proper, Capital Vices. We were slated to wrestle Sophie King and Still Life with Apricots and Pears, as well as Pretty Proper in Tampa this year. And we're really excited for that. And,
Yeah.
feel like the line of the year is "cause COVID,"
Yeah.
but I mean, cause COVID that didn't happen. So, uh, again, I think everything happens for a reason. And as far as my injury goes, I feel like I took that time to not only to get stronger mentally and physically, but also spend more time with my family. Um, my son just turned 8, and how many of those moments do you get? And my wife is back in school, and she just started a new job. So I feel like the first few months after COVID really gave us the time to spend together, and now our schedules are back to being hectic like they were. Maybe not as hectic, for me as far as wrestling for right now, but still pretty
Sure.
hectic. That really gave us some time to spend together as a family.
Now, that's a great perspective on it. I think that that's the very definition of lemons into lemonade right there. Especially when you have a young child, you do want to have those special moments. You get into it. Now, you said that you took the time to rehabilitate and get stronger physically, mentally, but also physically. Man, you're already strong. Like, you're the power of your tag team. Eel is cool and all, but he's like he's a noodly fast guy, flippy guy. You know, you're
That is true. You're correct.
no disrespect, but I mean, I mean, that's what you are in the team. You're the power of the team. It led you to your very first, to you, as I mentioned, being the first PTP tag team champions. How did you get to this? Like, that's got to feel cool, right?
Yeah, to get to prime time. So, man, I feel like everything within, primetime pro wrestling. Sorry, I'm putting my cat down. She's on my lap this whole time. I feel like everything with primetime pro wrestling, at least for myself, have been very fast. I came out, Eel was getting beat up by Francis Kip
Mm-hmm.
Stevens, and I just saw that as an opportunity to, right that wrong there. And Eel and I just and I feel like for us as a tag team, we're so different, but I feel like both of our differences when we come together, pardon the pun, but it's just a great form of synergy. Um, so with him being, the fast one, the creative one, and me being the powerhouse, the one thing, as far as in ring that we do share is that we both, have an affinity for grappling. Me more so, with my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu
Mm-hmm.
background, and Eel, he just did Jonathan Gresham's Grapplers Guild a couple months ago. Um, which I was super proud of him and also a little jealous, but mostly proud. Um, so we both have that, part that we allow, we give to our tag
Sure.
team. Um, and again, the one thing about Eel that I think is just phenomenal, and I wish I was as creative. He has his theater background, and that is just something that I am in awe of. Every single day, every time he posts a video on Twitter or Instagram or something like that, I'm like, how? Like I sure I can lift, X amount of weight on a bar, whatever, but he is the creative piece of this
Sure.
team, and I value him tremendously for that.
Oh, that's fantastic, and I mean that kind of chemistry got you those titles. would you would you consider Primetime Pro like your home promotion? Is that like is that like home for you guys?
Man, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Man, it was. Obviously prime time is no longer
Mm-hmm.
now. And I think, amid everything that happened, I mean, I think we would be remiss without, bringing up speaking out, the whole speaking out movement that happened in pro wrestling over the summer. That was that was one thing that really got me down. And I won't say depressed because I don't like to just kind of throw that
Sure.
term around when there are, people with actual clinical depression, out here. I don't want to just throw that term around. But it made me very sad and very emotional because primetime pro wrestling for me was the first promotion that I felt that I had a home, that I felt I was accepted, that I felt that I could be unequivocally myself. Especially with Butch versus Gore
Mm-hmm.
and everything that they had built, to showcase that they are an all inclusive, pro LGBTQ friendly wrestling promotion, which you don't see a lot, or at least, back in the day, you definitely didn't see a lot, especially in independent pro wrestling. And it was a place where I was proud to take my wife and my son, and I felt safe taking them. There are some wrestling, promotions or areas around me that I would not feel safe taking
Right. Yeah.
them
Still.
to wrestling
Yeah.
shows.
It's still a
And
bit of a.
prime time was one of that I could.
I'm sorry. You still feel like it's a bit of is the term struggle a good one to use, like to feel inclusive, to feel included, feel welcome, appreciated.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't want to put wrestling promotions in a certain geographical area. I don't want to put them in a bubble.
Sure.
But what I've found, at least in my experiences overall, in the teeny tiny amount of time I've been in wrestling, is that the further south you go, the less welcome that I
Okay.
feel. And um, the further north I go, the more welcome I feel. So
Right.
that's just, if I'm wrestling in West Virginia or something, that's probably not somewhere that I'm going to take, my family. And they always, my wife, when she goes with me, she runs my merch stand, and more than likely you'll see my son there. And I always have them buy a ticket because I never want to bring them and be like, have the promoter right there be like, hey, is it cool if she, just comes or whatever. No, I buy them a ticket to make sure that the promoter's still getting their money, even though she's just there, obviously to support me, but to, help me with some of the merch, if I'm in the back, getting ready for my match or whatever.
Right. Absolutely. And I guess as you yourself, you identify as LGBTQ plus. You're a black woman as well. And you're very outspoken, about it, and you're very open about your identities. Um, does that add some extra pressure to you in the choices that you make and for who you wrestle with or for? Is that something that is that I don't want to say weighs on you, but not in the sense that it's heavy to bear, but just like something that you want to carry, I guess.
Yeah, and it's tough, especially, just if we're just going to talk about one minority real quick, for women, especially like, um, I feel as though sometimes I have to pick and choose
Right.
what's going to be better for me, um, for my mental health, for my safety, for my family if they're coming with me. Um, excuse me. So, you know, maybe I'll go somewhere because, and my family doesn't always come with me. My wife did make a point to come to. I'm sorry, my mom called and I had to decline.
That's all right. Take
I'll call
that,
you back.
mom.
So I have to make a point to be selective sometimes with some promotions that I do or don't work for, and it's nothing personal. Well, I guess it is kind of personal, actually.
Have you had no, like have you had opportunities that you felt that you needed to turn down because of yeah it has happened.
Yeah, and it's there's a plethora of things. Again, location's a big one. As far as myself and my family feeling safe, um, and just exposure is one as well. And we're in the era of COVID. What are
Hmm.
your COVID precautions? What are you doing to keep your performers safe? What are you doing to keep
Sure.
um, everyone else who's there safe, including production team, commentators, referees? If there are fans there, what expectations are you holding them to? Um, so it's definitely gotten even more selective for me, um, because I'm having to quarantine at home. My wife works at a hospital. My mother just finished chemotherapy. She was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. She's doing great, by the way, now.
Good.
And my stepfather has diabetes, so it's just I can't just be
No.
going, especially nowadays. I can't just be going just anywhere.
Sure.
So it has to be worth it in a lot of different aspects for me.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Um, as I mentioned earlier, it's not the first time that you speak with Bell to Bells. Earlier this summer, you were telling us that one of your dream matches would be to face Trish Adora, and this is something that's happening in a couple of weeks on December 12th. You touched on it a little earlier. Look, yeah, exactly, at the Garden State Invitational, the first women's Garden State Invitational held by Synergy Pro Wrestling. You're going to be facing her straight off the bat, first round. How? I mean, we could skip the question because I'm going to say, how do you feel? And you've been like this, so it's like we could technically skip the question, but how do you feel about it?
Oh my God. So when I found out I was wrestling Trish, like, I'm trying to figure out how I can put the feeling into words because and you've seen it on Twitter. Like, I've wanted to wrestle Trish for a long, long
Mm-hmm.
time now. I remember distinctly. So my favorite match of hers that I was there for was this past March, Primetime Pro Wrestling, Butch versus Gore, opening match. Trish Adora versus Ashton Starr blew the roof off the
Mm-hmm.
place, and I said, "How am I supposed to
Were you?
Are you kidding me?"
You were the next match?
Like, we're further on down the card, but I
Okay.
was like, "Well, I'm glad I'm not second because y'all just had the main event as the first, like, what? As the first match on the show? Are you kidding me?" And then my wife was like, usually I say that your matches are my favorite, and I am biased. But I gotta tell you, Trish Adora and Ashton Starr, that was my favorite match of the day. And I'm like, I can't even get back.
So clearly you're excited about it. It's going to be look. I mean, I myself am excited for it. I'm excited for the whole event. In fact, there's the GSI has some fantastic talent on there. You've got Holodead, who's going to be there, Willow Nightingale, Gabby Ortiz, Tasha Steeles, Davien, yourself, and Riley Shepard, I think,
Yes.
who's in there as well. What are your thoughts on your competition? Like, assuming you move forward, right?
Assuming, usually I'm confident. Sometimes my wife will say that I lack confidence sometimes in certain areas. I'm not afraid to admit that. Um, you know, one person that I think we all need to keep an eye out for is Riley Shepard.
Hmm.
And Riley holds like a special place in my heart for a couple
Okay.
reasons. So we met. Oh, I'm so sorry if I butchered this, Riley. I feel like we met maybe 3 or 4 years ago when we were just little babies in the business. I mean, now we're toddlers, but when we were just little babies in the business, I traveled up to Monster Factory to do one of Danny Cage's seminars. And we met there. And of course, typically, if you're the only woman or one of a few women in a room full of wrestlers who the rest are males, you're going to hit it off. You're going to kind of gravitate towards each other.
Sure.
And we just hit it off instantly. I mean, she's quirky, I'm quirky, and we just got along right off the bat. And I had actually I had torn my ACL. This was before I started wrestling in 2013, and she just came back from a torn ACL. So it's not something where we like talked every day. But I did, message her from time to time, comment on some of her rehab things, and just like giving her words of encouragement, you know, giving her some advice based on my past experiences from going through ACL rehabilitation. It is not something that I would even wish on my worst enemy, because that whole surgery and rehab is just it's very
Yeah.
intense. But we bonded over that as well. But anyway, I would say as far as in the tournament, my favorite person probably is Riley.
Right in there.
Uh,
Yeah.
just the sweetest person, honestly.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye on her. I think off the bat, her first matches with Holodead, not an easy, not an easy entry into the tournament. But hey, we wish her the best of luck. It should be a fun show. It'll be on December 12th. Is this going to be is this your next show, or do you have anything between now and then?
Nope, this is my next show. So for right now, I'm just training and trying to get into the best shape as I
Get
can.
stronger. Can you believe that? She wants to get stronger. My God.
Well, that's the thing. Trish, she's very fast.
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but I'm just saying Trish is fast. So, I'm going to have to tailor my training to keep up with
Oh,
her.
look at that. Look at that. That's interesting. I'm excited to see it. Even more so now. So if we look past the GSI and things start slowly coming back to normal. I mean, there's more and more shows, right? And it's still not perfect, but more and more. What's the future hold in store for Jordan Blade?
Truth. Man, a lot. I mean, everyone has a goal board, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't think Ela and I have gotten that just straight up tag match was pretty proper.
Still
So
looking forward for that.
they're a tag team that I know we're trying to kind of go after. And if you got the digital edition of PWI, their top 50 tag
Mm-hmm.
teams, in there we are not ranked, but we are one of the tag teams spotlighted, along with Pretty Proper, and along with the Sea Stars who are ranked. But we both said Dominic Guarini and Kevin Koo. I mean, Kevin Koo, violence is forever. I mean, enough said right there. I mean, I know Ela and I are going to get our asses beat, like B10, not B10. But I feel like we'd put up a really good fight, and I also highly respect them. I mean, again, Dominic Guarini, if I'm not mistaken, he's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and
Oh,
that's
exciting.
something that that's super impressive. And I love, obviously, the MMA crossovers or the jiu-jitsu crossovers into pro wrestling, and I just love watching them wrestle. I think people have their differing opinions on whether wrestling is art, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, they wouldn't call the mat the canvas. Okay, you're creating. Wrestling is art to me. You're creating your art, and when I watch them wrestle, to me it's pure art, and I would love, and I know Eel would as well. Nothing more than to create some art together with Violence is Forever.
For all the years that I myself has called it the canvas, I had never made that relation. That's fantastic. I might steal that from you moving forward, to be completely honest.
Hey man, just give me credit.
Okay, all right. I put a little disclaimer at the bottom every time I use it, or on a post-it. They'll just pop it up. So you said you had a goal board. What's at the top of your goal board?
Oh man.
Like at the very top. Let's dream for a second if need be.
Yes. Well, hopefully this won't get me in trouble, but my goal is to compete at WrestleMania.
There you go.
My goal is to, at least top echelon, is to wrestle Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania.
Why would that get you into trouble? Isn't that something fantastic? I don't know.
No,
I mean, we all have dreams. When I was a kid, I wanted to meet Big Bird. It never happened. And since then I met Jordan Blade, so I'm even happier. See, there you go.
I feel like you could still be Big Bird, but now, you won't get there with that attitude.
Good point taken. There you go. I feel like I've been schooled. Thank you very much. That's cool. Jordan, I really appreciate you.
I just overall,
sure.
To wrestle on, national television, whether that be WWE, whether that be AEW. I think AEW has some fantastic women in their division. They just signed Serena Deeb.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Serena is from Virginia. At least where she's built from. I'm from Virginia. So I'm I think that I'm Serena. I'm just saying, Virginia girls, get in there, mix it up.
Got to look out for each other. I appreciate it. Yeah, they have been doing some great signings. Hey, I hope good stuff happens for you in 2021. I really do. If first of all, if we can all get back to some sense of how it used to be, that'd be great. And then just have everything unlocked for you. I appreciate it. And just as much as I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, Jordan. If people want to stay abreast of everything that you are doing, get the latest news, where should they follow you? Where do they keep their eyes on?
All right. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jordan_Blade92.
Just as simple as that. Instagram, Twitter. Got to keep it simple sometimes. I love it.
Yes.
Jordan, again, thank you very much. I appreciate talking to you. Hopefully, and hey, why don't let's catch up in a few months. That'll be fun.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, man.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Bell to Bells YouTube channel once again. You know the drill. Like, subscribe. I'm not going to run you through the motions. You guys should know what to do by now. So if you haven't done it, do it. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up for now. We'll see you next time.